it's very sensitive.
We talked about Pino, but also, going back to Italy, I guess Giallo is clearly an influence in here, the over-the-top violence of Giallo films. Talk about why is that something that sort of interests you to include in this one?
Well, I love extremeness, and Italians are extreme, and their culture is extreme. It's always heightened. And I like anything that is perverse. That came off weird.
Is your fascination with the perverse part of how you cast people in this? Do you ask them interesting questions?
Yeah, So we cast it for a year, and I couldn't find the one that was going to play the Elle character, who's named Elle because of Elle Fanning. I didn't have anyone that was the girl. And after a year, it was getting quite desperate because I had set a start date. And it wasn't that one, there were amazing performers, but there wasn't the one. And you always have to find the one, because casting is half the work. So by accident, Sophie comes in for a general meeting practically. And right away when she walks through the door, I'm like, it's you. And I didn't know why, she was the one. I think it was her eyes maybe, but there was something about her. It was like she was a doll. And once I had her in, I could then combine her with Havana and Christine, who had been auditioning through the year, who were fantastic. But I couldn't choose them until I had chosen Elle, because she was going to carry the movie. And then with Charles, it was a little different, because I was looking for an archetype that could was similar to Matt Mikkelsen and Ryan Gosling. And they're on around a lot. So it was like finding a Greek statue in Hollywood. And so that was like another can of headaches. But it got solved because, so I have this deal with my youngest daughter. She used to be a really cinephile, and we used to go to the movies, and she would see really, she would sit through 2001 and stuff like that. Then Netflix came along, and then suddenly it was all these fucking shows. So I still try to teach her film history, but now it's a trade-off. Either I pay her, or I found it better that I'll sit through what you want to see, then you can sit through what I want to see. So, deal. So she said, we're going to watch Riverdale. 7 seasons. I said, okay, I can't do 7 seasons, honey, but I can do 1. It's like, I know which one, Dad. So it was the one that takes, has anybody seen Riverdale? Oh. Obviously. So, it's the one that takes place in the 50s, and it was a fantastic show, by the way. I did show my daughter Twin Peaks to tell where it all came from. But okay, we all steal, we're all thieves. So was David. Anyway, so on this television screen, Charles appears. I'm like, who is this guy? He had slick back hair, he looked like a 40s movie star, he wore leather. I was like, that is Private K. So I was like, how do I get him out of the television screen and into my movie? With Sophie, when I met her, my first question to make sure she was right for the movie was, what's your relationship with your father? She told me, I won't tell you, but she told me. And I said, what kind of music do you like? She told me, I said, great taste, so we can make it work. With Charles, I was like, do you want to be in this movie? He's like, absolutely, I would, that's great. But I said, are you okay to wear topless? And he's like, I will take my clothes off anytime.
Right choice. Take some questions from the audience. Go.
Your films are such visual experiences. I was curious, when you're brainstorming a project like this, do you start from a place of plot or theme, or do you start from a place of the visuals you want to see in a film?
I think because of my dyslexia, I'd always have to go with the visuals first, because that's what turns me on. I'm a voyeur in that sense. What would I like to see?
I can see your hand. Oh. Yeah.
I only asked this because I got a chance to see your personal print of the opening of Misty Beethoven, but in terms of like the melodrama that you present in here, do you like where do you go about like approaching the fantasia of just like, I don't know what's heightened of this? I mean, is it like something more in the vein of like those early exploitation films, or like is it something else? Like how much of is there Twin Peaks in this? Like,
Well, I think there's everything in it. It's everything that I like. You know, it's like I didn't want one thing, I wanted everything. You know, when you're highly sensitive, you have sometimes difficulties not being able to choose. So my choice was everything. And I wouldn't leave everything. Anything that I desired had to be in it. And that was just my thing.
Right.
Your films are all very unique and don't fit sort of the pattern most producers or other people want to usually make. How do you get your funding to make such big passion projects or things that most normal studios wouldn't want to put their money behind usually?
I'm a very good used car salesman. And then you make your movies as cheap as possible. So there's a very simple chart if you want to survive in the entertainment industry. So as a director, which is the top of the list of everyone, if you know, we all want to make amazing movies and make a lot of money. That's like playing Russian roulette with 6 bullets. Yeah. So if you make great films that don't lose money, you can survive, because there's always someone who's willing to give you some dough to walk on the red carpet. If you make an uninteresting film that makes a lot of money, no one really cares, because it ain't sexy and everyone wants sex. Or, you know, you can make an amazing movie, but they lose money. That gets difficult to sustain, because eventually you'll run out of options. And then you can make a bad movie that loses money and do that once and you're out. But that's the chart of where you want to be. And obviously that's always the struggle. But thinking more like this, the less you ask, the more you can control.
In the back, Al.
Why did you want to name her after Elle Fanning?
Because Elle Fanning very much changed my whole ability. It was the first time that I made a film with a female lead. And I've always wanted to do that, but I always end up making films about violent men. So it was a big change for me, because it was a way my fantasy of what it's like being a 16-year-old girl. And so I felt Elle was always a name that's very, means a lot to me.
We'll take one more. Right here. Go ahead.
First off, thank you for taking questions from the audience. It's not always an opportunity to begin. There were some motifs, some themes in the film, like, you know, observing, gazing, and I'm always curious to know from an artist how much of that is conscious and planned going into the work, and how much of that just emerges subliminally from the process of making it.
Well, it's a kind of a combination of both a desire and also what feels right at the moment. And then you just have to let it evolve. I shoot in chronologically order so that I can always be able to change. I like stillness and I like silence because it's the foundation of faith. And in a way, it's something that is now have become the most provocative means in modern entertainment, because we're so used to shiny objects. And in a way, it's not healthy for our soul or for our minds. But stillness and silence is. So it's a form of inviting an opportunity to explore both what you're seeing but also what you're feeling, which becomes now interactive experience. not like gaming, which obviously is a far more advanced opportunity creatively, but it's an emotional gaming because you become not a spectator, you become involved. And to me, that then becomes, the experience. But there are themes, of course, in the film that is both aggressive and passive, and that kind of duality is very interesting to me, at least. There's the exploitation, which is a very male-y thing. The idea of a father being able to do extreme violence to protect innocence. It's a very male thing. It's like a fatherly porno in a way. It's like our movies, pornography for men. So, but it's a form of special because it's justifiable in our inner desires to have a catharsis in violence, which is part of our nature. And there's that's very seductive. And so, that was part of also the aggressive and then the passivity of obviously Elle's confusion of what she's falling into, where she's more of a voyeur until she becomes active.
Now that you're back in cinema, do we have you back for good? I know you're making a new movie.
Yeah, I'm making Maniac Cop next year. In LA.
Thank you, everyone. Thank you, Nicolas.